What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to a special Victory Monday live edition of the Dawgs podcast from our awesome new studio. I don't know how well you can see it, but Josh built this thing with his bare hands.
Well done.
And
thanks.
We'll have to post some pictures online for you guys to see this, but it is pretty freaking cool. It's better than our last studio, which was just a room. I know that it looked really awesome, but it was pretty much just a classroom. This is pretty sweet. So yeah, thank you, Josh, for building this for us. Thank you to we should probably give him a shout out. Simpson Salute Heating and Cooling for letting us use this area to do the show. So pretty exciting live coming in on a Victory Monday, talking about a big Browns win. And getting to do it from a brand new studio. So we're excited to have you guys all here. We're going to let this chat fill up. Remember, if you want to get voicemails on the show.
Whose music's coming through?
Head to jointhedawgs.com and I'm sorry, guys. We're live. I don't know what was going on.
There was music playing.
There's music playing.
Not even good
technical
music.
difficulties.
I will say new studio, every new setup, and everything's not finalized yet, obviously, if you could see the back of it. So, yeah, things are a little funky here and there.
I think it was coming from my computer, but I'm not. I'm just on ESPN. So,
well, yeah, they always have those stupid ads and
that's
stuff.
ignorant. But anyways, as I was saying, we got a bunch of voicemails to get to today. So if you want to get your voicemails on the show, head to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail in the drop-down menu. Obviously, huge victory to talk about with the Browns. They won in dominating fashion yet again. And the Browns are essentially strip sack fumble away from being 3-0 on the season. So just good positive vibes this week, as opposed to if you watched our live last week after the game. No more lives after excruciating losses, because that was painful. But we're excited to be here today. Before we get into all the juicy details, though, remember, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure you tap the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. If you prefer to just listen to the show, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and Google, pretty much anywhere where you listen to a podcast. Lastly, if you're looking for more Dawgs content, head to jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page. You get access to the private Discord, which is always a good time on game day. You get an extra episode every week. You get to play fantasy football with us, guys in there from all over the world. So it's a good time. You get to hang out with us electronically pretty much 24/7. I'm in there, especially. Hopefully nobody from work is watching, but if I get bored at work, I'll jump in there and answer a couple of questions. So it's just a good time for everybody. So if you want to hang out with us more, you want to meet Browns fans from all over the world, you want a little bit of extra content, jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dog Pack member. So as we're letting this thing fill up, and before we get into the game, into the voicemails, I think one thing we needed to talk about, we got really good news this week. Even before the Browns played. Yep. And it was somehow Nick Chubb only tore his MCL. I don't understand how it's possible. I think I posted on Twitter, I said, even Nick Chubb's knee ligaments are better than everybody else's.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Because I don't understand how it happened, but now we all thought, I know I thought, like, there was a good chance we were never going to see him in a Browns uniform again. I didn't even know if we were going to see him play football again, to be honest. And now they're talking 6 month to 8 month recovery time, should make a full recovery. That's crazy.
We couldn't have asked for better news. At least as far as what we saw after the game, I know how I felt. We've all kind of felt like it. It was, that was worst case scenario. That was probably our favorite Browns player of all time. We're never going to get to see him play again. Great news. So good luck to Nick Chubb on the recovery. But 6 to 8 months, I would have never. I thought that was completely off the table.
You're looking at him being back as long as everything goes well. They go in for the surgery and they don't find anything that they weren't expecting. Rehab goes well. He's back before the offseason even begins.
Right. I was actually listening to a sports doctor talk about this on a show today, and he was saying that when they go in to do the surgery, they'll evaluate also the ACL. Mm-hmm. And if there's some sort of partial tear, depending on how it looks or something with the bone and the other ligaments, they might go ahead and just do a complete repair on that. And even if they repair the entire ACL with the MCL, he said 9 months.
That's incredible.
And he should be ready to go.
That, his injury was so gruesome, they wouldn't even show it on TV.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I watched it one time and was like, I never need to see that again.
Right.
Like, I thought his career was 100% done. So, I mean, you couldn't have got better news, especially if you're the Browns, man, because that was deflating. You could tell last week against the Steelers, and obviously the Steelers have a really good defense, and they put pressure on people, and the offense wasn't exactly clicking, but he was running really well. And if he stays in that whole game and we don't have to essentially abandon the run for a quarter and a half and we don't get shell-shocked by losing, the heart and soul of the team, I think that game probably goes a different way. And so to just get that news before the game, along with like the Kareem Hunt signing, bringing him back as a more like that was huge.
Totally agree. Well, let's see if they make a rule change to protect MCLs in the future.
The problem is, I think it was a bogus hit, but man, you're telling guys they can't hit them here. You're telling guys, I mean, before you know it, it's like
flag football.
Flag football.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Trust me, I hate the Steelers, and I hate Minka Fitzpatrick as much as the next person. But if you were watching that Monday night or that Sunday night game last night, he got called for a roughing the passer penalty late in that game, and it was awful. And I was just like, well, this guy just heard all week how he was a dirty player because he went low on Chubb. So then today he hits a guy in the shoulder and gets called for a 15-yard penalty that directly leads to a touchdown of the Raiders. Made it a game when it never should have even been a game. So it's just like, as a defender, if we start making rules that you can't, there's going to be nowhere for them to hit them. It's going to be like a strike zone in baseball. It'd be like you got the belly to the knees, and that's it. Like, It's going to be impossible. So we just wanted to talk about the Nick Chubb news, kind of say how happy we are, excited we should get to see him back. It'll be interesting to see what the Browns do in terms of contract and money and stuff like that coming off a knee injury like this, but I expect the Browns to do right by him. I mean, Kevin Stefanski literally personally drove Nick Chubb the game ball yesterday.
I saw that. That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
Very
So,
awesome.
like, he means a lot to this team, not just on the field, but in the locker room. I mean, going back even to Freddie Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens used to talk about how Nick Chubb was just like the guy, if you could have 50 Nick Chubbs, you would be doing something right. So we're excited for the chance to be able to see him play in a Browns uniform again next year.
Yep. All right, guys, before we move on, if you're in Ohio, DraftKings is up their sign-up offer to kick off this football season. So new users can bet a $5 first bet to instantly claim $200 in bonus bets, plus up to $150 back in bonus bets if your team loses. All you have to do, sign up with DraftKings with our code, THEDAWGS, all one word. Using the code THEDAWGS not only gets you these great bonuses, but you also directly support our podcast. And if you've been considering signing up for DraftKings, I play sports books every weekend. I think, Blake, you do too. Make sure you guys are using the code THEDAWGS to maximize your first bet. So this offer is only available for new customers who are 21 years and older and physically present in Ohio. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER and check the episode description for the full terms of the offer to see if you qualify.
Don't throw your lives away like I am.
Oh, it's just so much fun, though.
It's so much fun, and it can be so deflating. I tell you, before we get into these voicemails, just real quick, I had a bet yesterday. I went through every game and picked. I got this from a guy on our Patreon where I picked that there would be the shortest touchdown would be longer than a yard and a half. And I did it for every game. And $10 would have won me $58,000. And I was like, and all I could think to myself was, even if this doesn't hit, which, probability, obviously it's not going to, but even if I can just make it through the 1 p.m. games, like half the game's done, this cash out option might be worth it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, they might offer a pretty substantial cash out, even if I can just get through half the games. The Texans scored from 1 yard out, like, at 108. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Oh. It was terrible. I was like, telling the wife, I was like, get ready to quit.
Yep.
No.
50 G's, baby.
50 G's coming today. Nope.
No.
What's funny is I even had a money line going where, like, a parlay, and I picked the Texans to beat the Jags, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is sweet. And then the Cowboys came out and got beat by the Cardinals, ruined everything.
I hit on 13 out of 14 on Saturday.
And that was the one?
No, it was
okay.
I can't remember who it was. South Alabama, I think.
Oh, college, I got you.
Yep.
I had one going for $100 yesterday, and I couldn't. And the Ravens lost, and I was ready to be mad at the Ravens all day, and then the Cowboys lost.
Yeah.
So even if the Ravens, I'm like, how are these the two that killed me? But all right. So like we mentioned in the open, enough about me being a degenerate. We mentioned in the open, we got some voicemails we want to get to. Again, if you guys want to get your thoughts or interest on the show, head to the dogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail on the drop down menu. We love hearing from you guys. So without further ado, we'll jump into these.
Maybe. No,
Hey guys,
there
it's
we go.
Phil. Now that was the game we wanted to see from the offense. Finally, Deshaun Watson hit the throws he needed to, took what the defense gave him, and we went and won the game. And obviously the defense, I mean, you only give up 3 points, and those 3 points were only because of the one turnover we had. That is elite. And I think Myles Garrett is going to win the Defensive Player of the Year this year, and that's a Super Bowl level quality defense. And barring injury, they're going to make a lot of teams' lives hell. We just need to keep it going. I think the Ravens look very beatable now, especially they struggled against the Colts, and you could say Ravens got screwed over by the referees, but they lost the game, and NFL referees are trash. I mean, they either call on our game or the Amari Cooper is just terrible, but that's another topic. But I think we can go into the bye 3-1, and then we get the real test, the San Francisco 49ers, and see how good this team really is. Anyway, guys, I will talk to you next week. Go Brownies.
Well, want to go first?
Don't expect the Ravens to look so beatable when they play us. I'm just warning you now. They're going to come out and they're going to play really, really hard. So we can beat them. You're right. But I don't think they're going to put the same kind of content out there that they just did against the Colts. I think they're going to play really hard. I think they're going to be tough to beat.
I was going to say, talking about the 49ers already is kind of like a Bengals attitude, and you saw what happened to them.
Yeah. My thought process on this, and like we're going to do a Ravens preview, but he brought it up. I learned my lesson with having expectations and thinking we're going to win a game against a division opponent, not named the Cincinnati Bengals last week.
Right.
Correct.
If they weren't the Baltimore Ravens, and I saw how many people, they have nobody. They're completely depleted in terms of injuries. I'd pick us to win by 20 plus again. But they're the Ravens and we're the Browns. And I know it sucks to say that on a Browns podcast, and it sucks as a Browns fan to say that. But because of that, I don't know what's going to happen. And you know what I mean? Like I think we should go out and we should win. And I think, honestly, we should win kind of in dominant fashion. But until we prove to until they prove it to me and I see us do it against these divisional opponents, not named Cincinnati, like over and over and over again, I learned my lesson last week. I don't want to be – last week I had such high expectations that after we lost – you guys saw me. America saw me. I was ready to go play in traffic. So I don't want to set myself up for that again. So I'm like John. I expect them to come out and it's going to be a battle. I think so. I do want to touch on Deshaun.
Yep.
His best game is a Brown, without a doubt.
Yeah,
Without
absolutely.
a doubt. Yep.
Completely.
Stats wise, 27 of 33, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He took 3 sacks for 26 yards. He had a 78.6 QBR, 100 is perfect, 50 is average, so he was well above average. And he had a 123.4 passer rating. And honestly, he should have had one more touchdown. He should have had about 50 more yards, which, we can talk about that. But it's not even the stats. Like, 289 and 2 touchdowns is like a good game. It's, I've seen, it's not Tua right now, or Mahomes, but like that's what we need out of Deshaun. To me, the biggest takeaway was outside of one boneheaded play that was just
yeah.
Which we could talk about that.
Okay.
What in the heck?
Yes. Outside of that, he was on time and on target, and he looked way more confident in where he was. It was the first time I watched him play for the Browns where it didn't look like he was overthinking. It was catch the snap, drop, I know where I'm going, and I'm delivering on time, on target, tight spiral, ball where it needed to be. He made some throws in that game. The one to DPJ, the one to Cooper on the one that got called out of bounds. He threw some dots yesterday, and I was just like, this is what we need. And I felt so bad because I was like, it took Chubb getting hurt for Stefanski to kind of loosen things up.
Yeah.
we didn't look so mechanical on offense. Like it was a little bit more free flowing, a little bit more spread out. And it's because we didn't have our crutch, because if you have Nick Chubb, you're going to make sure he gets his touches and you're going to make sure you know what I mean? So, I hate to say that, but we went to the running back by committee. Nobody ran the ball that well. Pierre Strong was the best running back at 6 carry for 27 yards. I mean, Jerome Ford averaged 1.8 yards per carry. But as a team, we rushed 31 times for 78 yards. We did just enough to keep them honest.
Right.
You know what I mean? And Deshaun did a great job early in the game, like he said, taking what the defense gave them. And then you saw early in the game, it was like these short little, 6 to 8 yard passes. Yeah. And he was completing them. And then by the second half, we're hitting bombs.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like he did such a great job of just he took what the defense gave him. He was accurate. He was on time. He wasn't overthinking. And he avoided – our line couldn't block.
That's what I want, yeah.
Like he could have been sacked 8 times.
Yeah.
And he made guys miss. He broke
did.
tackles.
He did a really good job.
He looked a lot like vintage Deshaun in this game.
I mean, as far as the not, being so mechanical, I mean, we came into this game knowing Tennessee's one of the top defenses shutting down the run. I mean, they were averaging 65 yards a game given up. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Yep.
They were the same as we were on defense coming into the game. So I didn't, like I talked last week, I didn't expect a big game from Ford or Hunt. Now Ford got the 2 touchdowns, which helped his day. But I mean, overall, his yards per carry and everything, totals, they were not very good. But in terms of Deshaun Watson and his accuracy, 82% completion percentage. But I always talk about the adjusted completion percentage, which takes throwaways and, clocked balls and drops and stuff out. He was 90% adjusted completion percent.
Yep. I like, too, that
that's amazing.
He faced a lot of adversity, especially early.
Yes.
I had a lot of adversity.
Throughout the week.
Yeah.
Even from us. Yeah. After last week's game, I was like, guys, I'm legitimately worried.
Yeah. So, me and Josh kind of talked about it a little bit. I felt like this was like the perfect setup game for the Browns to just kind of roll over. They literally just got punched in the mouth. They're basically their spirit animal as far as a player. Nick Chubb is gone. This could have been a game, and in the past would have been a game we would have rolled over and just given up.
Oh, everybody's picking this to lose.
Yeah. So the fact that he came out and nothing was easy early. He kind of battled through. Right as soon as that play happened, I literally was like, man, the backwards throw to Elijah Moore. I was like, yeesh, this is setting up for a really long day. And then, honestly, by halftime, I was like, we're going to be okay. I was
doing
nervous.
whatever he wanted.
He was getting banged up, though. The only thing I was worried about was like they might knock him out of the game.
Chad Wills, dude.
The line did not play well, but I think he took what they gave him, and then second half he was electric.
Yeah.
Second half was nice, and then the defense was just so complimentary.
We're going to get to the defense.
The defense.
We're definitely going to get to the
goodness.
defense. We're going to get this offensive stuff out of the way.
Yeah.
No, it seemed like the backwards pass and the near destruction that it caused.
Yeah.
Almost snapped him out of it. He was like,
whoa,
oh,
what am I doing?
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because from that point on, like I said, it was 3-step, boom, ball's out. I mean, he wasn't holding the ball. He was getting it out. Elijah Moore had, I think, 9 catches on 9 targets.
Yep.
Only for 49 yards. But if you're getting the ball out on time and you're first of all, you're giving him a chance, you're not taking sacks, and you're keeping
Move the chains
moving.
Yeah.
You're staying in positive situations. It was and the fact that he played honestly that well behind a line that didn't pass block that well. We knew running the ball was going to be tough, and we honestly our offensive line does not pass block that well this year outside of DeJuan Jones.
Well, I was actually pulled up the stats from yesterday. DeJuan Jones he sits atop the offensive line. He gave up exactly 0 pressures yesterday on 41 pass blocking snaps. DeJuan Jones had 100% efficiency. I talked about that on the show last week. And then if you go down the line here, Wyatt Teller had 100% efficiency, gave up 0 pressures. Joel Bitonio gave up 3 pressures. Posick gave up just 1. And then there's Jed Wills with 3 pressures. But he gave up 2 hurries and a hit on the quarterback. Posick's pressure was a sack.
So the line, and Pastor Robson here saying, is the line got better once they started getting out of their 8 and 9 man boxes that they were in early once Deshaun started hitting some passes. So that helped, but he avoided so many sacks again. And there were a couple you have to, this is where we said we had to take the good with the bad with him. I remember one time where I was like, oh man, get rid of it. But I was like, well, the last 5 plays, he's broken those and we've gotten first downs. So sometimes your best strength, it could also be your biggest weakness, like his belief in his athleticism. And we knew that when we traded for him. Like occasionally he's going to take a sack that might not be great, but he's going to make up for it. I think even after the backwards pass or whatever, we went and got points because he settled down and started dotting it up. So
now I wanted to ask you guys about, while we're talking about the offense and some of that early stuff, and in the chat, you guys let us know what you think. Did you feel like Kevin Stefanski was trying to like over razzle dazzle in the beginning? Because there was that play, and then there was the play where Deshaun, he flips it to Moore, flips it to DPJ, flips it back to Watson. I'm like, stop flipping the ball. And then he ends up passing out to Elijah Moore for like 2 yards.
No, like he got like 10.
Not on that play.
Yeah, he did.
What I'm thinking of, I thought he got 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Well, there was another one then that I thought was like really stupid.
I
'cause we
remember
didn't get
watching
any
that
yards.
play and thinking like that was awful and screaming at the TV, and then being like, "What the hell?" But still ended up being a decent.
No, I don't. So here's my thing: is if anybody watched the Dolphins, they're doing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Like if we don't do stuff, he's not creative enough. His offense is stale. If he does stuff, he's being too cute. The guy can't win. I don't mind doing it in your first 10 to 15 scripted. See what they do. You know you're probably not going to run the ball.
Right.
So, hey, I'm going to sprinkle a couple of these in my first 10 to 15 to see what they do with it. To see maybe we get lucky and we bust one and we score early. But like then the reason you script plays is you put the defense in different situations early and see how they're going to line up, and then you can base play calling the rest of the game off that. So I didn't mind it. If it goes the other way, maybe I do. Like if we turn it over or something, but you can't yell at a guy for being stale and then yell at him for being like, well, what's he supposed to do?
I just thought it was funny coming off the game where we talked about the 4th and 1 trying to do a speed option. Then we talked about the scheming up the first play of the game to Harrison Bryant. Like sometimes you just go out there and run the offense. I mean, a lot of people in the chat are saying a little too cute with some of those plays. And I see what you're saying. I mean, you got to try some, but there was one point where I just thought, I think he's trying it every freaking play. But, it ended up coming together down the stretch.
I don't mind. I mean, especially if it works. Like the one guy said, he got 14 yards on that ball, on that play. So the worst call of the weekend wasn't in the Browns game. This is off topic, but it was in the Ohio State game when Ryan Day ran a sweep on 4th and 1.
Oh, you mean the worst play call? I'm sorry.
Yes, the worst play call.
I was thinking refs.
That's for a different podcast.
That was definitely a terrible play.
That was
play
the
call.
worst. So for once, it wasn't in a Browns game. The worst call of the weekend wasn't in a Browns game. How do you guys think how do you think the run game went? Because we ran it 31 times. We only averaged 2.5 yards a carry, which we knew that it was going to be tough sledding against Tennessee.
I'll say I've actually got a voicemail from Stacy kind of talking about the run. Then we can dive into that. Sound good? Okay.
Amazing win for the Browns. Definitely needed that win to get this team going and bring the morale up after losing Chubb last week. And all I have to say is this defense is for real. Like Myles Garrett, Zadarius, everybody is just looking awesome. And I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Only bad thing I do have to say, if I have to pick one thing, is just I do wish that we would run the ball a little bit more in the first half, and instead of just like when we get up, then we start to run the ball. I think it would have taken a little bit of pressure off of Deshaun. But other than that, go Browns.
Okay, so just my thought real quick on the run the ball thing goes back to what I said earlier. You can't run the ball against Tennessee. And Jerome Ford's never started a game before. Kareem Hunt just got signed off this season. He hasn't taken a snap, been on the field at all yet this season. It was a very tough game to try to establish the run.
I agree.
Before we get, I'm going to talk about our voicemail, but Frank Fiore, hey man, I don't want to be. We just won 27-3, and you're complaining about. And our quarterback had an almost perfect passer rating through 2 touchdowns, had almost 300 yards passing, should have been 300 some yards, and a 3rd touchdown. What are we complaining about the offense for? For the first time in a year, the offense looked great. What are we complaining about?
Yeah, I see he says throw the ball down the field, but it's like if they got it covered down the field or guys aren't open or he doesn't have time to set up that throw because of the offensive line, the pressure, whatever.
It's a sack.
He's hitting guys that are open, and we're getting first downs.
And we threw a bomb touchdown in the second half. This isn't NFL blitz. We don't throw the bomb every play.
I always ran that play.
You know what I mean?
Go-to in blitz.
We're playing against an NFL team. He said we didn't do anything for a quarter and a half. Tennessee is a perennial playoff team with a good defense. Like,
Great coaching.
yeah. Like, sometimes I just, with Browns fans, I'm like, well, what did you expect? Like, it's not just, we're not going on air.
I mean, we talked about this last week. Tennessee had given up 305 and 305 in their first 2 weeks to the opposing quarterback. Deshaun went out there for 289. Should have been well over 300 with that stupid call on the sideline. So he had a hell of a game.
Yeah.
Yep.
In terms of running the ball early, Deshaun was cooking after the bonehead play. And, like, why just run Jerome Ford into a brick wall over and over again? You know, if we got Nick Chubb, okay, maybe early, but, man, he averaged 1.8 yards per carry. He wasn't getting much going. That's why you went and got Deshaun. You spent $230 on him and traded away the draft picks to say, hey, we can't run the ball. We're going to need you to come out and hit some early throws, and that's what he's able to do. So I understand the thought process, but I think you got to know your personnel a little bit and know who you're playing. And the offense, we were moving the ball.
I mean, we had 78 yards rushing on the day, and like I said, they came in averaging, giving up just 65. So we actually were better than their average.
Yeah. So I guess before we transition to the defense then, this game out of Watson, clearly his best game as a Cleveland Brown, his best game in 2 years. Where do you guys stand in terms of, are you calling him back? Like what? Because I feel like last weekend especially me, we all overreacted. You know what I mean? Like, the Steelers will do. You know how we have the Bengals number? It almost feels like it doesn't matter how good the Browns are going to be. The Steelers are just going to come out and smack us for some reason. And, like, the Bengals go to back-to-back AFC championship games, and they're 2-9 against us.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, some teams just got your number, and unfortunately it's our rival that we hate in a division. Like, it sucks. But I don't think, like, we're not that bad. You know, so where do you guys stand on Deshaun? Like, do you feel confident going into next week he's back, or are you still nervous? Where do you guys stand?
It's something to build on. I mean, it's a great game to build on. The thing that's interesting to me is Baltimore is very banged up, but they're still going to come and their defense is going to give us a hell of a time. It's a divisional game. I'd like to see him have a great game against that defense. If you put up a game like that against that defense in a rivalry game and a huge divisional game at home, I think we're well on our way to him being back. But one game, I don't think you can overreact and be like, hey, everything's fixed, because obviously it wasn't fixed. There was times during the first quarter and the second quarter where it wasn't. It looked bad.
What about you, John?
I'm with you, Justin. I'm trying really hard not to overreact, but I think I've overreacted now 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, very fair.
We're fans. It's what we do.
Is he back? How do we know? You know, maybe he comes out and throws 3 picks next week. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. You know, hopefully it's a career game for him, but we'll see.
I think
he's making improvements for sure. I can say that objectively. He's getting better, and he's getting more comfortable in the offense, so that's a good sign.
I think you hear teams say you got to stack wins. He's got to stack performances like this.
Yes.
Like if he does it again next week against the Ravens, I'll feel a lot better than going into the bye into that 49ers game. But, you know what I mean? It can't be a roller. That was my issue with Baker. You know, he would come out and look great, and then we'd be like, oh, yeah, he's playing really well. Then he'd come out the next week and just be awful. We're paying to not be on a roller coaster anymore.
Right.
So he's got to stack performances like this. So I'm ready for Sunday already.
Yeah.
I'm ready to see him go and play against the Ravens. Even though they're beat up, that's still a well-coached football team that you know is going to show up and play hard. So I'm excited to see how it's going to be the third division opponent we see already this year. Mm-hmm. I want to see how he responds, and hopefully it goes better than that Steelers game.
I would say Devontae actually has a voicemail, and I believe he kind of gives his perspective on Deshaun here too.
All I got to say is, man, what a game. I know Deshaun started out a little shaky, but he pulled it in, you know, showed up when we needed him to show up, made critical throws. I know a lot of people giving him a lot of slack for the first 2 weeks, but I just think he just needed a little bit more time, man. And I think it's still not perfect to where we want it, but you guys are going to see it as the weeks progress. And, you know,
we're going to see a lot more out of this offense. The defense showed up as usual. Shout out Jim Schwartz, man. They played a phenomenal game. I'm not a big fan of DPJ doing our kick returns. We need somebody else to do that. I know we don't got too many options at that position right now, but DPJ is just, yeah. And it's tough because I love DPJ, man. That's my guy. But I just don't think kick returns is this thing. But other than that, I have no complaints, man. I can't wait to week 4 against the Ravens. I hope we ball out and, have another complete game on both sides of the ball. Go Browns.
No, just like we've been saying, it was his best performance so far. The defense, which we're going to get to now,
my goodness,
man, the defense is. Isn't hyperbole. Obviously, in my lifetime, there's been some good defenses. The Legion of Boom out in Seattle is crazy good. San Francisco's had really good defenses. I think it was the 2000 Ravens when they carried Trent Dilfer to a Super Bowl.
Yep.
That defense. But and as far as teams I watch consistently in the NFL, I've never seen a defense like this. Like what the numbers they are putting up, they're on a historic pace.
Yeah.
I've never. It's like watching a high school team play a middle school team at times. I've never seen anything like it. We don't miss tackles. We're aggressive. I mean, nobody can block our front. Mo Hurst. I mean, Mo Hurst is.
I was so excited about Maurice Hurst coming in the season, and it's so good to see that validated on the field because he does the belly rub. He's eating. He's just eating it up out there.
I'm almost speechless when I've never watched an NFL defense be this dumb. We gave up 94 yards of offense to a professional football team yesterday.
That's unreal.
The Titans and Tannehill in particular, they looked good on offense last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tannehill was almost perfect. He had, I think, 3 passing touchdowns or 2 and a rushing touchdown last week. Well, they looked like deer in the headlights.
They were defeated.
They could. Myles Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen a defensive player run back and forth like he's in motion, and the offensive players are following him to double team him, 2 tight ends. That is like a middle school football type tact. I've never seen that in my life outside of 7th grade football.
It's awesome to see.
We're for real.
Yeah.
I mean, only 3 games in, I think that's enough of a sample size to say we're for real. We were talking about this earlier. Our offense through 3 games has given up more touchdowns than our defense.
I was talking with Justin about that. I said through the first 3 games, our defense is averaging just 5 earned points a game given up to the opponent, and our offense is averaging 5.67 points given to the opponent. So our offense is actually outscoring our opponents against us.
It's crazy.
Against us. It's stupid.
To put things in perspective, the Saints yesterday blew a 17-point fourth quarter lead. Their defensive coordinator is Joe Woods. Okay.
Sounds about right.
The Browns defense has only given up 18 points this season.
Yes.
18 points this season. They have only given up.
Well, and that's if you count the 3 from yesterday, which honestly, I don't know if the Titans would have ever even gotten close enough to kick a field goal if it hadn't been for that fumble.
I don't think so.
Do you realize maybe my favorite stat of the game from yesterday is the Titans had 1 scoring drive. And on that 1 scoring drive, they had negative 9 yards of offense.
Okay, yeah, because that's where we fumbled the ball. And yeah.
Yes, they fumbled and they ran 1 play. And we still have only had 1 play ran inside our red zone the whole season. We fumbled.
And it's not because of our defense.
Yep, we fumbled it at the night, and they recovered it at the 19. Ran 1 play, lost yards outside of the red zone, and never got back in the rest of the game.
That's awesome.
I think my favorite thing the defense did yesterday was not let them kick a field goal. His time expired because he couldn't even throw the ball away. He didn't even have time to throw the ball out of bounds.
Myles, he sacked the tackle and the quarter. It was unbelievable. Through 3 games, the Browns have only given up 491 yards of offense. To put that in perspective, the all-time best start through 3 games is 430. George Pickens had 72 on a busted coverage.
Yeah. I think that's the only way you score on this team right now is on a busted play.
It's like a busted play. And I've heard some people say we haven't played an elite offense yet. Well, first of all, I know we played the Bengals in a rainstorm, and their offense hasn't been clicking on all cylinders yet, and Burrow's a little beat up. They still put up 20-some on the Ravens the very next week.
Yep.
And they're elite whenever it's convenient for you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
When it fits the narrative.
Okay. Those guys, that's a team with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon. So Ryan Tannehill, the Steelers, their offense, I think, is cheeks. They just put on a clinic last night. And I know the Raiders aren't very good, but they're still an NFL team with Max Crosby. Okay. And the Titans looked good last week in their game against the Chargers, I think it was. Mm-hmm. They put up 20+. I'm looking it up right now. So don't tell me that we haven't. Yeah, they put up 27 last week.
Uh-huh. Here's what I like. So we are 35 minutes into this recap game of the Browns versus the Titans. And there's a name we haven't mentioned one time yet, and that is Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
You play the Titans, you almost start the conversation every time with Derrick Henry.
Yep.
We haven't mentioned his name once.
There wasn't much to mention.
Nope.
I started in fantasy, and I knew I shouldn't have, but I felt like you had to do it. They completely took him out of the game.
What was he, 11 for 20?
It wasn't worth it. Yeah, I had 2 points.
They said, again, Tajay Spears played more snaps than him. And it's because, like I talked about last week, that he would be their little screen pass dump off back because he's got more speed. That's the only way you can beat us is try to get a mismatch on our linebackers with a back like that, not with Derrick Henry.
We made their best player a legitimate non-factor.
Yes.
And in last year, he would have had 250 yards easy on our defense.
There was a play they ran a handoff to Derrick Henry, and Myles, it was like he hit stick him.
Yes.
I'm like, that's Derrick Henry. And he just pummeled him as soon as he took Myles is playing. I know some Browns fans were talking how TJ had the strip sack last week and Myles didn't do anything. Guys, Myles has been playing out of his mind this year.
Yeah.
TJ had the fumble recovery.
Yes.
It wasn't a strip sack.
No,
there's almost in some of our games, there's almost no time for him to get to the quarterback because the dude is scared crapless, and they're just hut and just chucking it.
That's exactly what's been happening. They snap throw. That's what 3 quarterbacks in a row now you've seen do.
It's part of the reason why we haven't forced many turnovers yet. The defense has been so dominating that teams are legitimately don't have time to hand it off. They don't have time to do anything. They're just catching the snap and either getting hit and he has to throw it away, or they're handing it off and he's getting pummeled right away. Yep. There is no opportunity for turnovers.
Right?
I mean, half the balls the quarterbacks have thrown against us are off target because they're running for their lives. I mean, the turnovers will come eventually because they just will, but you can't fault the Browns defense for not forcing turnovers right now. There's just they've been too dominant to force turnovers, which sounds stupid, but tell me where there was any turnovers they should have forced.
If you guys know the answer for sure, tell me, but I'm pretty sure that we've only given up 9 first downs so far this season in 3 games.
I thought it was 13, but
13,
okay, maybe 13 or 18. I thought it was higher than that, but still.
But I mean,
you could get that in a game.
Yeah, well, last week we had 20.
Yeah.
We had 20. I mean, it's unreal.
DQ brought up a guy that I think needs brought up. JOK, just patrolling just the line of scrimmage and just making elite tackling and just being surefire. I told him, I said, man, Grant Delpit was that guy for 2 weeks. I was like, holy crap, he's everywhere. I felt like JOK was that yesterday.
Yeah.
JOK was just everywhere. Every time we needed a play or a tackle, he was there. He was involved. Just
everybody said the linebacker position was a hole for the Browns.
I don't think so.
Chill.
I don't think so.
Wait till we get some defensive line play. Wait till Jim Schwartz gets with these guys. The linebackers, Anthony Walker's, everybody's playing.
Yes.
There isn't a guy on this defense that isn't playing.
Anthony Walker could have had a pick 6 yesterday.
Yeah. I'll tell you, you know who's really showing out too for the defense? And he caught a lot of flack last year. Denzel Ward is balling out.
Yes, he is.
Yep.
He is balling, and we were worried because he got the concussion. We were like, man, what's going to happen? He's dominating.
It sucks because there's so many elite performances that are on the defense that guys like that are getting covered up. Guys that have made tons of plays throughout the game. Even like Emerson, I thought he kind of picked on a little bit, but even then I was like, as a whole, the whole entire defensive unit just super accountable.
I love the chat. They're throwing these stats out here. So that we've given up 21 first downs, and the next best defense is Buffalo at 41.
Right.
Yes.
We have 20 fewer first downs given up than the next best defense.
Buffalo played the Jets
With Zach
with
Wilson.
Zach Wilson. You know what I mean? And lost. The Browns have allowed an NFL low 3.2 yards per play this season, best by any NFL defense through 3 games this century.
Wow.
Unreal.
The per play dominance has helped Cleveland force 3 and outs on 61.5% of the opposition's drive. Also best by any defense through 3 games since the year 2000.
Wow.
The Browns defense through 3 games, 18 total points allowed, 335 net passing yards, 111 per game, 156 net rushing yards, 51 per game, and only 526 total yards, 175.33. Those must be net. So after the other stat was 490, I think it was. We're the 9th ranked or the 1st ranked defense in yardage, 9th ranked offense in yardage. So we have a top 10. We have the number 1 defense and technically a top 10 offense in yardage in terms right now.
And that's in that rain game.
Yep, we're the 1st ranked scoring defense, the 12th ranked scoring offense.
I think we're set number 17 in points. So top 10 in yards and middle of the road in points. With our defense,
That'll win you most games.
Yeah.
And the offense is going to get going. I firmly believe that. The Browns' defense is 1st in efficiency. Special teams is 3rd. Offense is 23rd. So obviously still room to work there. Total yards allowed per game. The Browns ranked 1st in all these categories. Total yards allowed per game at 163. Rushing yards allowed per game at 52. Passing yards at 111. First downs allowed per game, 1st. 3rd down percentage. You remember with Joe Woods, teams were converting 60,
At will.
70% of 3rd downs against us. Teams are converting 19.5% of first downs against us.
Jeez.
Points allowed per game, 10.7. This is right now, as it stands, it's a historic defense. If they continue at this pace, they'll go down as one of the best defenses in NFL
I
history.
mean, did you guys see on the broadcast when they showed Jim Schwartz over on the sideline, that one play just laughing?
Just happy.
That was the
I think
one
it was
with
when
Myles.
Myles,
Yeah.
got them to jump or whatever, right? And
Yes.
he's just laughing like, this is great.
This personnel is why he took the job. They were like, hey, man, you want to come coach this? And he looked at the paper and he was like, yes.
Yeah, these guys are good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, Andrew Jackson actually just posted in here. He said, if the defense plays like this for the whole year, do you see Schwartz leaving for a head coach job?
I don't think so.
I hope
I
not.
don't think he
I don't think he has interest in it.
I
Yeah.
think this
He
is
could've-
what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Dude, I would write him a blank check.
After
You-
this,
I-
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I'm not letting him leave
To
for a
be
head
the
coach
DC,
job.
absolutely.
You were hitting on those stats too, Blake. This one was from the Discord. I can't remember who had it on there, but they said Cleveland Browns have allowed minus 36 rushing yards before contact this season. League average is 94.22.
Yes.
Do you know how insane that is to even think of that as negative
120.
36? I mean, before contact.
That's 40 yards
It's
per
getting
game.
blown up in the backfield every play.
Yes.
That's incredible.
So-
Negative 36.
So the league average is 94, and we are 120 yards better than that. And you say, how is that possible? Because we're negative 36.
Yeah, that's insane.
Don't check my math there. I'm not a good mather.
Good enough.
Roughly 120.
Yes, I'm not a math scientist.
Might even be 130. Who knows?
A mathematician.
It's fun though because the defense, they've all bought in, and I think we've kind of touched on this a lot. But there's a personality to the defense.
They have fun, man.
This is a unit that I don't think are going to get weathered by anything that happens on offense. I think that this is good to go. This is going to be elite all year.
It's
very
kind of hard to
special.
lose your drive when you have the chance to be a historically maybe the best defense. I don't want
Yeah.
to say the best ever, but one of the best ever.
Well, and can we remember that we're doing this through the first 3 weeks? Game 1, we did not have Juan Thornhill, and yesterday we didn't have Greg Newsome.
Yeah. And Greg Newsome has been playing well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Juan Thornhill, since he's been back, looks
played
like
well.
the guy that we signed to be.
Yeah, it's been incredible.
Yes.
It's and you can see too from the defense, there's like a level of intensity, and they seem mentally tougher this year.
Yes,
the
they're
last
not-
couple of years, it took one bad play, and you saw heads down, shoulders shrugging, and then the rest of the game, it looked like Myles wasn't trying anymore. We were just letting people do whatever they wanted. Sudden change this year. If we turn it over, Doesn't matter. If we gave up the broken play to Pickens in week 2 last year, done. They would have scored 50.
Yep.
We wouldn't have got off the field the rest of the game. They would have done whatever they wanted. Come back out, shut them down.
I think all our defense cared about was getting rid of Joe Woods last year. At least at the end of the season.
We talked about how they would just, in the middle of games, you could just see the players quit on him. And it's like, this is terrible. And we talked all offseason. We want to see that, like, intensity. We want a nasty defense. We want a defense that just people are afraid to go up against, and we have it.
All we asked too was we said, hey, let's just clean up a little bit of the miscommunication, like in the secondary. There's been none of that. There's been no miscommunication.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's on the same page. It's incredible.
So somebody in the Patreon sent this last night. The Titans had 63% of their total yardage yesterday on 2 plays.
Yeah. The 2 Hopkins catches.
It was the Hopkins, and I think the other guy's name is Moore.
Oh, Moore. Yeah. Chris Moore.
That big Chris Moore play.
Yep.
Yeah. That was
Hopkins is going to get his, you know.
Yeah.
That was it. So before that drive, going into the drive right before the half, Tannehill had 27 yards passing.
My goodness.
And then they hit, and I remember that drive, they started chipping Myles like every single play. And I was texting my dad and my brother, and I was like, they're chipping Myles every play. And my dad's like, yeah, they've adjusted. And I was like, well, if they have to do that literally every play, that is going to limit their offense so bad. Yep. And my brother was like, well, it doesn't seem to be affecting them now. They're going right down the field. And I said, if they're banking on just throwing it up on the sideline and getting miracle catches, it's going to be a long second half for them.
Yep.
Turns out it was a long second half for them.
Yeah.
So they get 63% of their yards. They got, if you take away those 2 chunk plays where the receivers made incredible catches, they would have had 60 or 50 yards of offense.
Man, it's dominant.
50 yards of offense, and then I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like it.
I just want to say one thing. I'm really excited for the week we play the Bears.
Oh my God!
Yeah, how's that hot take going, John?
Yeah,
my hot take. I don't care about the hot take.
Yeah, we got to
I only care
that baby.
Yeah, I don't even care. You talked me into it anyway.
I made a comment today. I said Justin Fields only had 99 yards passing against the Chiefs. I said we might hold him to 0.
And that was in a blowout game. Like, it was.
Yeah.
And it was 2 years ago.
Streaks.
Yeah, 2 years ago with Joe Woods that we dominated.
He had
5 sacks.
Yeah.
Garrett had 5 sacks.
Getting 4.5 yards passing because of all the,
I think so.
the negative plays.
I mean, the way that all he does is hold the ball. Like, he won't throw it. So we're going to sack the living daylights out of him. But that's down the seat.
Yes. But that was
we'll
just,
get there, but
I just saw that stat today and I was like, oh man, that does not bode well for the Bears and Justin Fields.
Yeah.
You guys want to hear a voicemail from Kenny?
Yes.
Yo, guys, it's Kenny Mack. What a hell of a game yesterday. The Browns did everything we wanted, unlike last week when they did the exact opposite. I know today that we're going to be talking about, Browns fans that is, the missed call or the missed inbounds call, whatever it is. What's more egregious is every single time Myles Garrett is getting held. 2 of his 3.5 sacks. He was getting chokeholded, man. It was crazy. With Kareem Hunt, I was siding with Blake. Didn't know about the signing. It looked great. The offense looked lifted. He will look sharp. I think he's down a couple pounds, and he's that bowling ball that he always was. And then, man, the Titans didn't have an answer for Amari Cooper. He lit them, and unfortunately due to that other call that we won't talk about, he should have had more yards and another touchdown. Anyways, guys, I'm out. Let's keep this up against the Ravens. Go Browns.
I think we ought to talk about the sideline thing. Right?
Yeah. Okay. It's so when I watched the play, he caught it and then I was like, oh, he didn't go out. And he took off running and I was like, he's definitely got this guy beat. And then all of a sudden he stopped and I was like, oh, he must have stepped out of bounds. And I was like, okay. Because like live and from our view,
yeah, we were on the other side of the field.
I was like, okay, that seems like it's a possibility. And then they showed the replay, and I was like, hold on a second. I was like, he wasn't even close. And then if you go look at the replay, the official, it's not like he's out of position.
He's right there.
He was from me to this computer away. I mean, and he's looking right at it. There must have been like a hot chick in the stands or something, and he was like using his periffs because he wasn't looking at Amari's feet. Because that goes down. That's one of the worst calls. And the fact that you blew it dead.
That's like I
That's
think
what
where
makes
I'm
it.
at.
Yeah, because if let it play out, and if
Correct.
he was out of bounds, you call it back.
And I think
They
it
review
happens
that all the time.
All
Yes.
scoring plays are automatically reviewed.
Yeah. Let that play out. Even if you're 100% sure, let that play out because obviously he did not step out. He would have beat that guy.
Well,
down
the thing is, let it play out because if he's out of bounds, I mean, even if you let it play and everything, then they'll
the
throw a
ball's
challenge
at.
flag.
You know where the ball's at.
right?
It's already marked there.
But
you're good.
There would not be a challenge on that play because
Right.
they would see the replay and say, yeah, he was in.
Yep.
So what I don't understand is on every single play on the sideline, every time a receiver goes up for a pass, the referees are watching their feet to see where they come in. You have to. So they called it a catch. He called it a catch, so the referee clearly saw that he was in bounds.
He said
so.
he
How
stepped
did he
out.
call him out? He wasn't even. But like you said, he wasn't even close.
Yeah, but that's what he called. He didn't say he caught it out of bounds. He said
No, he said he caught it, but what I'm saying
And
is
stepped
to
out.
say that it was an inbounds catch, he would have had to clearly see that his feet were in bounds. And if you saw his feet were in bounds, you had to see the foot or so space.
So we've
between him
talked
and the
about
sideline.
this plenty of times now. You cannot make an honest mistake like that. There's nothing honest about that.
No, that was.
And it
blatant.
calls into question, who's making money off of that play.
The over under was 38.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy, but I'd be curious to see the statistics in terms of how many people took the over. You know what I mean? My only counter argument to that would be that it was really early in the game, and at that point, it didn't look like we were gonna blow them out. You know what I mean? So they didn't know that it was going to keep it. But the over under was 38. I'm pretty sure is what I saw. So if 80% of people who'd bet on that game took the over, Vegas just made a ton of money.
The thing that's crazy to me is there's literally just hundreds of cameras all over that field.
Yeah.
Why is this still a thing? Why? This is every year we go through this with either with replay or with the officiating. I just don't get how it's still even an issue. They've got to figure something out. This is every year. This is this stuff.
And here's the deal. So we posted about it online and stuff, and some people are like, "Oh, bad calls happen all the time. Good teams overcome it."
Yeah, we did.
Listen, we exactly
Right.
we did. We won 27-3. It doesn't change the fact though, that things like that cost people games. Ask the Saints.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It cost Drew Brees potentially a second Super Bowl.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, in the Cleveland Browns, they have a history of that call goes against the Cleveland all the time. Can you remember any time where the Browns get a favorable call like that? No. It always goes against the Browns. Always. The pass interference, Mike Williams against the Chargers in Baker's year, where they called DPI on Ward.
No, it was AJ Green.
AJ Green.
Yeah, I went back and looked today. Yeah.
You know what I mean? The no call on the helmet to helmet on Rashard Higgins. That would
Changed the
get
entire
called
game.
against the Browns 10 times out of 10.
Yep, I actually posted that picture of the helmet to helmet, and then I posted the explanation of what a targeting penalty is from the NFL's rule book. It was that picture.
Yes, and it's
Nothing
just
called.
So at some point, it's yes, good teams overcome it. You don't want to leave it in the hands of the officials. We didn't, but God, it's just it's just so frustrating. It's just it always goes.
If it was questionable, that's the thing. If it was close, how many times do we watch replays and they're showing where did what color was that pellet that came up? Did it have white?
Right.
You know what I mean? They're so zoomed. He wasn't even close to the sideline.
Ridiculous says top 10 worst calls in history. We got 3 or 4 of them.
Bottlegate.
But listen, go back and that's the thing. Bottlegate happened. If you go back and watch, it's horrendous.
That's why
to
there's
snap
not
off.
glass bottles in NFL stadiums anymore.
Yes,
Go
so
watch the tape.
It's been going on since the 80s. It's not like this was a blip on the radar, one-time thing against us. It's all the freaking time. All the time. And it's just it's getting old because we feel like we have a team that could do something and we don't want to get robbed on some BS.
Right.
You guys want to talk about Myles Garrett getting held real quick?
Go ahead.
Sure.
I'm very undecided on this, but I have kind of an unpopular opinion. When LeBron James played in Cleveland, I used to say he's getting fouled all the time and they're just not calling it. A game would have been 5 hours long. With Myles, and there are so many, Nick Bosa and TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, you almost have to hold these people or it's just going to be a sack fest the whole game. And then the NFL has a hard time selling a product. My issue right now is like, I don't know if there needs to be some sort of a rule change where you can do maybe a little bit more to a defensive end. You know, I'm not saying choke him out, but just like maybe a little bit more contact before it gets called. But like, I don't know what else you do, because if you just call holding every time Myles Garrett gets held, it would be a very boring sport.
I don't know what more they can actually allow, because I've seen offensive tackles literally with just their arm around his neck, just holding him.
And I'll push back.
But that's not allowed.
Right. But it doesn't get
in
called.
the rule book, it's not allowed.
Right.
But see, I'll push back on that a little bit. Is just because it's inconvenient for the game doesn't suddenly make it acceptable.
Correct.
Well, I understand that, but it's still a business. Like, selling a product is their number one priority, regardless of what we want.
I get your point, but at the end of the day, like, you could make that argument about literally like everything.
I know.
That's right.
And you know who it wouldn't be boring for? Browns fans, because we would get sacks all the time. It's one of those things where like I don't know if he's got to. You know, people call LeBron like LaFlop. Well, the reason he has to flop is because they won't call it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those things where, like, does Myles need to start trying to sell it more? I don't want to see him give up on his pass rush, but like, does he got to fall over? Or, like, what does he have to do something to make it?
I've seen plays now already this season where Darius Smith is running past the referee pointing. Like, look at this.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, so the other guys see it too. So it's being presented to them.
I did see something in here, and I think this is a good thing to like wrap up the show with. It says Stefanski needs to flip out on a ref at least once. This happens too much. He never sticks up for his players like other coaches. I saw him giving them the business. He was in his ear, and he was telling them, like, why would you not let it go?
Yeah, I saw that too.
Very rarely do you see an NFL coach like
Coming unhinged.
Yeah. Like, tell me the last one where you saw him like it's not college or high school
Or baseball.
Baseball. I was going to say it's not like
You know what I mean? Like you rarely see them just like
Brian Daboll last week. I watched him.
He was very mad.
He came a little unhinged.
Yeah.
That would be an unhinged moment.
But he was sticking up for his guys. And I did want to talk about this. A lot of people talk about the lack of emotion from Stefanski, and I actually talked about this, how like I want to know how he's going to galvanize the locker room and stuff like that. Did you see him and Deshaun after the touchdown to Amari, like the chest bump, and Stefanski's like hitting him in the chest? It's the most emotion I've ever seen out of Stefanski.
Yeah.
It's good to see.
That is good. Very good to see.
So no, I think like obviously we don't want Nick Chubb to get hurt, but just he got hurt, and we heard all week about how we were the same old Browns, and the Browns were stupid for giving Deshaun the contract, and we were just going to be a dumpster fire forever. And instead of like folding, this is the first time in recent memory for me that the Browns rallied around that.
Yep.
And even the coaching staff, like even Stefanski was pumped to be like, F you. You know what I mean?
This is not the same old Browns. I mean, even if it's just the defensive side of the ball, this is not just a good defense or one of the top in the league. This is on pace to be a historical defense, like we've said. It's so much fun to watch.
Yep. And so you saw emotion out of Kevin. I mean, it's been, I don't want to overreact to 1 week win, just like I shouldn't have overreacted last week, but I mean, I was in a rough place.
And we talked about it. Nobody in the NFL is going 17-0.
Yep.
So, I mean, we're going to lose a game here and there. And, hopefully the Steelers game was just a here and there.
Yep. Sunday can't get here soon enough. Do they flex our game?
I don't know. It's a home game, and it's going to be very chippy.
And it's going to be chippy.
It's going to be a chippy.
Winner's probably going to be. Well, I don't know who the Steelers play next week, but
I do not know. I can look though real
quick.
There's
a good chance winner will be at least tied for first place in the division.
Right.
They'll be 3-1, really looking good heading into like the second quarter of the season.
Yeah.
I expect it to be an intense game, and right now I think lined up for Sunday night it's Chiefs and Jets, and nobody wants to watch that.
Actually, if just before we wrap this show up, and I know we're going to do a Ravens preview, but I did want to play Andrew Jackson's voicemail. He talks about the Ravens real quick.
Okay.
What's up, Browns fans? This is Andrew Jackson here. Another victory Monday and the kickoff to Ravens hate week. Let's go. I hate Baltimore more than I hate anything else, and I'm sure you're going to have these goobers in the comments talking about Lamar this and how great the Ravens are. They couldn't even get past Gardner Minshew. I'm not worried about them. Our defense looks elite. Let's go, guys.
Andrew, we love you, man.
I hate Michigan more personally.
If we're keeping it separate between like high schools and colleges and pros, there's no team I hate more than the Ravens.
It's close.
In the
It's close.
NFL, yeah.
And I despise the Ravens. And I really think they're beat up. Again, Lamar's legs will be the difference. He's completing a crazy high amount percentage of his passes, but it's for nothing.
Yeah, they're not moving the ball much. They're not racking up.
Yeah, this
yards.
high-flying offense. Cool, you're completing 20 at 25 or whatever for 150 yards.
Yeah. Well, and we'll get into the preview later in the week. We'll see kind of what the injury reports look like. But I was telling Justin before we got in here, OBJ already missed last week.
Yep.
He's already injured. I don't know if he's going to play in this week or if he'll come back. Bateman went out with an injury yesterday.
Yep. They're down. They have no running backs.
They have no
Gus
Edwards
is out.
Concussion
Hill's
protocol.
in IR.
Yeah, Hill's in
They
IR.
brought up Melvin Gordon and Kenyon Drake, but they're probably going to lead the backfield attack for them.
We just bottled up Derrick Henry. I'm not worried about anybody running back except for like we talked about 49ers. CMC is the only running back that's probably going to give me a little bit of worry, but nobody on the Ravens.
The only thing on the Ravens giving me the slightest pause
Lamar Jackson
is Lamar Jackson.
His legs.
Yes.
I'm not worried about passing. None of that.
Our defense is so, again, we're going to talk about this, but our defense is so aggressive that it could open up rushing lanes for Lamar if they don't stay disciplined in their rush lanes. That's legit my only worry, at least in terms of when they have the ball and we're on defense, because I've seen it for 3 weeks in a row now where I just trust this defense. For the first time in my life, I trust something.
I think Jim Schwartz will have these guys where they need to be to stop him from. Now, Lamar's going to have a big player too, I bet. He always does.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And
if
they'll
it's
come
gonna
at
be
really bad times.
But a play or two is different than years past where it was a play or two every drive. You know what I mean? Jim Schwartz has these guys playing awesome.
So, well, we appreciate all you guys being here. We like to try to keep these lives right around an hour. Don't want to take up too much of your guys' evening. Thank you guys for being here. It was awesome unveiling the new studio with you guys on a Victory Monday. We couldn't have asked for a better week to get the studio ready. Again, we appreciate everybody who's watched and supported the show over the years. If we didn't have the following we did, and we didn't have you guys listening, we probably wouldn't be in this studio. So we greatly appreciate all the support you guys have given us. You guys make doing the show fun, even the haters. So we appreciate you guys being here. We'll see you guys later in the week when we preview the Ravens game. And until then, let's enjoy this victory, and we'll see you guys later this week.